Welcome back to World Drum Club. I am Kalani Das, your host and teacher. And in this lesson, we're going to be looking at how to use drums and handheld percussion in 3 different ways. The first way is in a groove, or adding to the rhythm component of an ensemble or a song. And that's one of the most popular ways we use any drums or most instruments. The second way is to play accents or mark certain points in a groove or in the music. The third way is to facilitate or accompany transitions or other dynamic or changing parts of a song or a groove or the music in general. Let's start with one of our 6 introductory percussion instruments, the tambourine. I'm going to be demonstrating some of the ways that we can play the tambourine for grooves, accents, and transitions, and I'll be showing you examples that I've already recorded, that you already have, of how each of these instruments can function in these different roles. First, let's start with the obvious, how to play the tambourine in a groove. And I'll show you briefly, and then I'm going to show you some examples in recordings that you already have. So let's look at how to play the tambourine in a groove. This is one of our more popular applications. So here we go. This is tambourine in a groove. Very simple and very effective. How do we use the tambourine to accent? Well, one of the most popular ways is by, for example, matching the snare drum of a drum set. So that's one hit every measure, typically. And that would look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 4. Here's an example of the tambourine being used in that way in a song. Let's look at how you could use the tambourine as a transition instrument. So not for a groove and not for an accent, but as something more dynamic. Let's do a roll, starting softly and getting louder and then getting soft again. This is the kind of thing we might do in the transition to a bridge section of a song, for example, or in an introduction or an ending of a song. All right, let's move on to another instrument. Let's look at the cabasa. The cabasa can be used as an accent instrument or a groove instrument. Here's one way we use it for accents. 1, 2, 3. Here's an example of this type of accent in a song. Another way we can use the cabasa is for a groove. Something like this. Now let's talk about the triangle. The triangle can be used for individual hits or accents. Here's an example of where I played a single hit to accent a beginning of a verse in a song. Of course, the triangle can also be used as a rhythm or groove instrument. Here's an example in a song. Lastly, here's an example of how you can use the triangle as a dynamic or transition sound. We could place that anywhere in the song, beginning, middle, or end, depending on what the music would call for. Now let's look at the shaker, one of our most common percussion instruments, usually used as a rhythm instrument. Here's an example. Here's an example of how I would use the shaker as a transition instrument. Here's an example in a song. What you can do with your students is ask them to watch one of the play-along videos that has cajon, triangle, shaker, cabasa, tambourine, any of our main percussion instruments, and ask them to identify where in the music the instruments are being used for one of these three roles: groove, accent, or transition. We can also use our drums in a similar way. So the cajon can be used just for accents, for example. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's an example in one of the play-along tracks. Of course, we all know how we can use the cajon as a rhythm instrument, but we can also use some of the sounds of the cajon as transition effects. For example, we could play with our fingertips near the corners and make a rolling effect similar to what we did with the shaker and the tambourine and the triangle. We can do the same thing with bass sounds. And we can do similar sounds with the djembe drum. You can experiment with the sounds of the drums and have your students experiment with the sounds of the drums and find their own ways of creating dynamic effects, accent sounds, and different types of grooves to play along with the different tracks. So again, have your students listen and watch pop percussion tracks that you have, the play-along tracks that you have, and any other performances of ensembles or a percussionist playing along with a band. And identify specifically where in the song they're using which instrument for which role. Grooves, accents, and transitions. As a final assignment or an ongoing practice for your percussion ensemble, have small groups of your students add hand percussion to a song and ask them to play the different instruments and arrange them so they're fulfilling each one of those 3 roles: accents, grooves, and transitions. And you could limit it to our 6 introductory instruments: djembe, cajon, shaker, cabasa, triangles, and tambourine. And you could also have them experiment with other instruments that either you have or that they have or you want to add in the future. All right, I'm Kalani. This is World Drum Club, and this has been a lesson about how to use hand percussion and some drums to add accents, grooves, and transitions to an ensemble piece of percussion only, or to add with a band and accompanied drum set and other instruments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a future lesson.